Hello and welcome to the 2014 U.S. Chess Championship and U.S. Women's Chess Championships here in St. Louis, now officially the capital of chess in America. We're here in the beautiful Central West End at the St. Louis Chess Club, right across the street from the World Chess Hall of Fame. And it's the sixth year running that we've had these two premier events, the U.S. Championship and the U.S. Women's here in St. Louis. We see that the players have arrived. They're getting ready for game one battle. We see some of a new player, Josh Friedel, facing. He hasn't played for the last few years. We've got Gata, our defending champion, getting set up to play the black pieces in this game. So lots of excitement in store for us. I'm Jennifer Shahadi, and I'm here with Grandmaster Yasser Seirawan.
Pleasure to be here, Jennifer.
Yeah, we're going to be with you for the next couple weeks.
Love it.
Should be a lot of fun. And let's take a look at some of the matchups that we have going on today. First of all, we have the championship matchups. We've got Mackenzie Molner, a newcomer to the championship, against Alexander Onischuk. Firouzja Nakobian against Daniel Nitzki, 18 years old. We've got the U.S. Open champion, Josh Friedel, against Alexander Lenderman. We have Timur Gareyev against defending champion Gata Kamsky. Last year's runner-up, Alejandro Ramirez, is going to face off against the young star Sam Shankland. And we've got St. Louis local Ray Robson against another newcomer, Sergey Erenburg. And our U.S. Women's Championship pairings, defending champion Grandmaster Irina Krush versus Nemcova, a newcomer. We've got Irina Zenyuk against Anna Zatonskih. Tatev Abrahamian against Alyssa Melekhina, Sabina Foiser versus Kamila Vahenskaite, and finally, Victoria Ni against our youngest player in the field, Aswaran.
13 years old.
That's right, 13.
Wow.
So that should be fun to watch her progress in this championship. Now, let's take a look and hear what Grandmaster Maurice Ashley, who will also be with us for the next 2 weeks, thinks about the key matchups of the day.
Well, thanks, Jen. Well, clearly the key matchup right off the bat is between the big boys. Four-time champion Gata Kamsky, who's seeded first in this event, against number 2 seed Timur Gareyev. Now, they're both rated 2751, a whopping rating, tied exactly in this event, but Gata's ELO rating, his FIDE rating, is higher. Gata has defeated Timur before, so Timur definitely looking for some revenge in this matchup. Right away, we see strong players playing each other. Now, on the women's side, we have a key matchup with Irina Krush, 5-time champion, newly crowned Grandmaster Irina Krush, as a matter of fact, against Katerina Nemcova, first time in this championship. Katerina, she comes from a chess-playing family. They have 7 kids in that family, 4 girls who have all won titles in the Czech Republic from which she hails. So definitely 2 great challenges here, great pairings, and we should look forward to an exciting round 1 here at the U.S. Championships. Back to you, Jen and Yaz.
Thank you, Maurice.
Great kickoff, great kickoff. I think, Jennifer, that this is going to be one of the strongest U.S. championships in history. The entire field is composed of international grandmasters. Usually there's 1 international master or even 2 that gets into the field. So this is one of the strongest ever.
That's right, and part of the reason for that is that in past years we sometimes have 24 players, and here we've got just 12 players in the championships. And also we have a lot of people who are young and getting even stronger, or people who have recently changed residencies. So the strength in this field is really phenomenal.
And so many new faces as well. Again, in this tournament, Mac Molner, never met him before this event. Josh Friedel, I hadn't personally met Josh before this event.
That's right. I mean, Josh Friedel actually has played in a really critical championship a few years ago where he lost that crucial game against Nakamura. But he's been out of the championship for the last couple of years, and he got in.
Right.
He saw how awesome these championships are, and he made a point to play in the U.S. Open, won that, got his seed.
Qualified in.
Now, do we have moves going on? I don't think we have moves yet from the Kamsky game, but let's see. So Gata Kamsky, relaxed, laughing. He's excited to be here. Can he win yet another championship?
Well, he's facing a big test against number 2 seed Timur, and he's black too. So a challenge in round 1, and it's a little bit of a pity that this matchup doesn't occur in the very end of the tournament, the outcome of this game will have a huge impact on the U.S. Championship.
But on the other hand, we get to enjoy it right now.
Exactly. Starting off with a bang.
That's right. Last year, these guys played a really exciting game. If you
Wow,
recall, there was this
right.
there were 3 queens on the board at one point.
Right.
So that's what I'm rooting for, that we're going to get another 3 queens. Or in fact, why don't we go for 4 queens? Of course, it's very rare in high-level chess to have more than 2 queens at the board at the same time.
Exactly.
And I'm really excited about that. Now, last year, though, the colors were reversed, and it was a bishop b5 check Sicilian, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, I believe so, yeah.
Which is considered to be a little bit dry, but of course, with Kamsky playing white, he was still going for the edge.
Exactly. Now, Gata, of course, very, very rock solid, and he'll be looking to play a defensive scheme as they get started for the round. I think Maurice has some insight that he'd like to share.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see if we've got a Grunfeld in this game, or perhaps a Queen's Gambit declined. What do you think we're going to get?
Well, in Timur's case, he can actually play a lot. He's very versatile in his opening. Mainly, he does go for the queen pawns, and you're right, the Grunfeld would be a high likelihood in that case. But I'm cautious. Timur may do something to surprise us very early.
Yeah, and I think we're ready now for Grandmaster Maurice Ashley's thoughts.
All right.
Well, you guys mentioned the 3 queens in the last game, but I'm going to show a different game with queens on that Kamsky defeated Gareyev. And in this position, back in the Washington Open in 2012, Kamsky had this position with the white pieces. We see here he has this extra pawn, and Timur's queen was buried in the corner. He tried to get it out with queen to h1, but Kamsky played the move queen to e1 and challenged that queen. And after queen having to go back to h2, he played this great move, king to f3, trapping the black queen in this camp. Black tried to break out with g5, but after f takes g5, king takes g5, queen e3 check, and after the king dropped back to g6, now queen to f4, and suddenly the trade of queens would be devastating, and this passed pawn would just run all the way home. So Timur had to go back with queen g1, and then queen f6 check happened, and that's all she wrote, because now this pawn's going to drop, everything's going to fall apart. He had to resign. So definitely Gareyev remembers this game fresh in his mind, and he wants to start off strong now that he has the white pieces and do the same to Gata Kamsky. Jenny Yaz?
Actually, I'm a little bit surprised with these 2 top American grandmasters that they've only played each other twice. You would kind of expect them to have a lot more heads-up battles with one another, but only 2 games. Gata's got a psychological edge with 1.5 half.
Yeah, that is interesting, and I think maybe that's partly because in the U.S. Chess Championship, there's been a lot of different types of fields, and you didn't always see everybody play everybody.
Exactly.
So that's kind of nice about this, that switching back to the round robin, there will be some, definite matchups.
Right. Now, when you were playing in the U.S. Championship and winning the U.S. Championship, you must have had a couple of matches with Arena.
Oh, that's
Krush.
right, yeah.
I mean, you didn't just play her twice.
Right,
you guys were
exactly.
very familiar with one another, right?
Well, certainly in the women's championship, because there's also not as many women who play chess, so you see a lot of the same players in the field, even more than in the championship.
Yep.
So yeah, for sure, you definitely. I mean, if you look even the women's championships have been held here for 6 years, and you just see game after game between these players, which keeps things very exciting for us.
Now,
and speaking of Irina, I actually have the exact outfit that she's wearing on the wall.
No way! Oh boy! Oh boy! I was going to say, this is the biggest prize fund too in U.S. If this is one of the strongest U.S. championship, it's also matched one of the biggest prize funds ever, $244,000, and we have the Bobby Fischer prize to boot.
That's
so
right.
there's a potential of a $300,000 payoff for the players, but of course somebody has to win all the games to get the $64,000.
And that's just for the U.S. Championship.
Right.
$64,000 if you can win all of your games. In honor of Bobby Fischer's feat from 50 years ago, where he won all 11 games in the 64 U.S. Chess Championship. It was actually the end of '63 into '64. So
50 years ago. Wow. Wow.
And what an incredible feat. And it's amazing, looking at some of those games where it easily could have been a draw.
Right.
We were looking at the Sadie game, and there was another game against Reshevsky that was just like, he easily could have drawn that game. And then history would be so different. We wouldn't be here celebrating the Fisher Prize.
And I do believe...
And looks like we are getting some moves. This is very exciting. So let's refresh the board and follow along with these guys. And they're playing quickly. And alas, it doesn't look like my beloved Grunfeld is showing up on the board.
No.
Instead, we've got double queen pawn.
D4 opening by white, D5 by black, C4 I believe is what?
And then, Gata, he could have played the Grunfeld, but instead it looks like he went for his other standby, probably the Slav, right?
The Slav. Exactly. The Slav, basically in the Slav, you get this wonderful center pawn. Black reinforces that center pawn with the move c7, c6. And the players, let me refresh and update my board. They seem to be moving very quickly.
Well, you can't be surprised by Gata Kamsky playing a Slav, right? I think that's even more typical for him these days than the Grunfeld. So
I absolutely expected Gata, especially because he's playing his nearest rival, to use his most solid opening. White has developed his two knights. Gata has played in the past g7, g6. Preparing to fianchetto his bishop. He's considering what appears to be his fifth move. Let me just again update. Whoa. He has played a7, a6. Let me go back.
Right, and
So in this position, Gata played the move a7, a6 with the idea that he may advance on the queen's wing with the move b7, b5. There was a trade of pawns on d5. This is called the Slav exchange variation. It has a high reputation for being a draw.
Now,
lots of draws.
With the extra move of a6 and with black, it's
Yes.
considered to be slightly more theoretically advantageous for white. Is that right?
Yes, white, as we see on the board in front of us, white has developed 3 of his pieces to Gata's 1. So white is considered to have a lead in development, and he tries to increase that lead in development. With this move, bishop g5, notice that the pawn on d5 is protected both by black's queen as well as black's knight. So this move, bishop g5, has the potential of eliminating the defender. White manages to capture the knight. That pawn on d5 can become vulnerable.
That's right, yeah. And so what's interesting to me is that Gareyev probably wouldn't have played the exchange variation against another variation of the Slav. But because Kamsky chose the a6 line,
Exactly.
and Kamsky's had some fantastic results with that when white tries to play c5, those more typical lines.
Right.
Kamsky's performed very well there.
Absolutely.
With the g6 stuff you were talking about.
That's been his bread and butter for the better part of 5 to 10 years, actually. He's really relied upon it. And I remember here in the U.S. Championship that not that long ago, I was on the podium with Gata, and he was saying he loved the positions. So he knows them inside and out, backwards and forwards. But this move a7, a6 has been debated amongst the world's top grandmasters, superclass grandmasters, and it's proven itself time and time again to be a popular choice.
And that's right. And so Timur going for something a little drier, but also more justifiable when the opponent, makes a move like a6. So a lot of logic here in the chess opening, and I like to see that. I think we're going to move on over to the U.S. Women's Chess Championship.
Okay.
We've got a couple of key battles there. Of course, we're going to keep a close eye on our defending champion, Irina Krush, who is playing against a newcomer, Katerina Nemcova, in round 1. Another game we'll probably look at later, which interests me a lot, is Tatev Abrahamian versus Litsa Melekhina. But here we've got Irina playing with the black pieces in round 1. Yesterday at the drawing of the lots, they each picked a card from the St. Louis Chess Club founder, Rex Singfield's new book.
Yes.
And you saw Irina, she loves getting the white pieces. And
Right.
she loves chess so much, she's a little bit like a kid at Christmas if she picks 1 through 5. And
Yes.
I saw her looking so crestfallen,
When
6 through 10.
Yeah, that means that she'll get an extra
Yeah.
black. With 10 players in the field, obviously it's a 9-round event in the women's, and so there'll be a 5 blacks for Irina, the defending champion, and only 4 whites. Today, she's playing the black side of an open Sicilian. Let's go.
Love that.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, that's going to be a sharp game. E4. I don't know Nemcova. This is the first time I've met her, but E4 is considered, oops, I beg your pardon. E4 is considered one of the most challenging opening moves.
Well, Fischer would have heard.
Yes, C5, knight C3, D4, takes. So this is what is called the open Sicilian. Knight F6, knight C3, and with the move D6, the classical Sicilian.
And Irina's had a lot of success in this opening. This is her old standby. She's been playing this opening forever. Recently, she's added a lot of different things, but going back to an opening that's very flexible and not that easy for white to figure out what to do. I mean,
Right.
a lot of people try the bishop G5, Richter Rouser.
Exactly.
I always found that fun because then they can't fianchetto.
Right. You take away the dragon.
Right, but the interesting thing here is bishop C4 actually does the same effect.
Exactly.
Because here, if black were to try to fianchetto and play G6,
There's
that looks like a very nice, solid move. But unfortunately, in chess, it's not just about strategy; it's also about tactics.
Absolutely.
And here, you're a little bit too late here. Like if you had your bishop on G7, this would be cool, and this variation that Yaz is showing on the board, it would be fine. But now your bishop is getting in the way of the connection here. You got that nice discovered attack.
Right.
And you won my queen.
Exactly.
Very nice.
You have to be careful when you're black. If you want to go for a fianchetto variation, you got to set it up. Bishop C4. This was a favored move by Bobby Fischer, and I don't know why this variation with bishop C4 doesn't bear his name. What Bobby's idea was from the 16th century, when they put their bishop on C4 aiming against that pawn on F7, this used to be called the Italian bishop. And what Bobby tried to do with this bishop C4 variation, as we see, I believe Irina played E7, E6.
Yeah, I got it. Kind of got it.
Yeah, to blunt the power of that bishop. What Bobby came out with was a quick F4, F5 to really try to hammer away on this pawn on E6. And Bobby had some scorching victories on the white side. And again, I think that this line of play, which is so sharp, really does deserve to bear his name.
All right. Well, what about just for our purposes in this round? We'll call it the Fischer attack. Well,
Yes.
One thing for sure, this will be an interesting game, and I like the opening choice by both players. For the newcomer Nemcova, I like playing something super sharp, and also I like Krush trying to come straight out of the gate and play her most aggressive option.
Challenging.
Get
Not
that
just
point
the
on the board.
rock solid defensive setup, but the counter-attacking type of game that we like to see.
That's right. I mean, honestly, if there's a Sicilian, I'm always going to say I like it for both sides.
Exactly.
Let's see more Sicilians in
Exactly.
this tournament. Now, also, let's take a look at one of our really exciting games today against Grandmaster Ray Robson, who's playing against Sergey Erenburg.
Right.
Who recently, he's a newcomer to the championship. He's from Israel, and he recently switched over federations.
Exactly.
And then Ray is hyper local now because he's a student at Webster University.
And national champion, Webster University, and Ray's a key part of their team. And Ray has played for the U.S. Olympic team as well as the world teams. And No, it's a Russian defense.
It's a Petrov.
A Petrov.
Yeah,
Okay.
Petrov with an interesting kind of offbeat line a little bit, not straight in there for the knight takes e5.
So what we've seen is e4, e5 by black. Oops, I did it wrong. I beg your pardon. e4, e5, knight f3, knight f6. So the Russian defense, the idea is that black is counterattacking in the center white's pawn on e4, while simultaneously white is attacking black's pawn on e5. So it's like, anything you can do, I can do better. Knight takes e5, d6, first kicking the knight away, very important subtle point of the Russian defense. Knight takes e4, knight c3. Now this move, knight c3, d4 used to be the old move and everybody played d4. Knight c3 is the latest wrinkle being played by the world's top chess grandmasters in this theoretical debate.
I think we saw a Nakamura game in this recently.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hikaru.
I saw him play that either at the Singfield Cup or at a recent championship. And the idea is, of course, for white to castle queenside, which is also fun for us because that's not something you saw that much in the Petrov otherwise.
Exactly. And once white castles queenside and should black castle kingside, those become ultra-sharp games with both players trying to go after the other player's king. But it looks to me like Sergey, who again, another newcomer to the U.S. Championships, his rookie experience, I'm not familiar with his games, he appears to be setting up for queenside castling as well. So queen d, oops, I went a little bit too fast on that one. So queen d2 was played. Castles by white, as we expected. Queen d7, king b1.
Hey, in honor of Fischer, aren't you going to try to take that a2 pawn off?
And that's why he played king b1, just to protect it. So
well, yeah, of course, bishop takes a2 usually falls to b3, trapping the bishop.
Right.
But eventually you have to watch out. So king b1, of course,
protects the pawn, tucks
finishes the castling, basically. And that's one of the things with this structure. The double pawns in the c-file are, on one hand, seems like a structural weakness, but it's also kind of nice because it gives greater protection to the king, and it opens up the d-file for our major pieces.
Exactly.
Which lends some pressure on black's position.
At the moment, the position's very, very balanced, right? I mean, the pawn structure, nobody's ahead of material. But the crucial question, the key question actually, is what's going to be the address of the black king? Is he going to castle kingside or queenside? Once it castles kingside, then white will want to create a pawn storm on the kingside. If it goes queenside, then moves like bishop b5 to pin the knight on c6 is what we'll likely to see. And Ray has a peculiar posture at the board. He gets very intense. He lowers his hand, he places his hands over his ears, and it seems like he almost goes into a yoga-like stance at the board, and he's just really, really intensely concentrated.
That's right. Well, the closer you get your head to the board, the more chess moves you say.
Yeah.
I did read something
you get
about
closer.
if you get your brain closer, you'll think better. So there you go. I mean, you see a lot of chess players doing that, right?
Well,
now, if we get our heads closer to the computer screen,
right.
well, we see everything.
Well, we'll pick it up more. I recall I was playing with Michael Tull, a former world champion, and it was one of those things that for some strange reason, both of us had gotten up from the board for a particular reason, and we came back to our seats, and like somehow together, we almost lowered our heads in a headbutt. It's like, oops, sorry about that, because we really got over the board. You don't usually see headbutts in chess, by the way.
No, and I don't hope we will see them here as well. So let's take a look at one of the other games.
Okay, would you like to?
Let's see. How about you want to take a look at the newcomer Mackenzie Molner's game against our seed number 2 here, Alexander Onischuk?
Sure.
Alexander Onischuk is now the coach for Texas Tech University.
Absolutely. Now, in the case of Alexander Onischuk, he's been the stalwart team member for the U.S. Olympiad team for the better part of 5-6 Olympiads. And he comes to this championships with an extraordinarily gifted approach of almost unbeatable. I mean,
Right.
he draws a lot of games, but he gets his victories in as well. He's looking for a type of tournament where there's not a large number of wins because he feels he can go through the tournament undefeated. And if he can get 2 or even 3 victories, he's thinking that he could easily win this U.S. championship.
Well, yeah, he won, I think, the first year he played back in '06. So,
Yeah.
you know, he's due another championship. So I know his fans in Lubbock, Texas are watching all the way. And I love this frame, by the way, here with the U.S. Junior Championship in the background of these two players.
Right.
And we really see some of the most gifted chess players in America right there. We've got Sam Sevian and Jeffrey Chiang, and it's really exciting. Some of these players are going to be playing in the championship later. In fact, one of them is. There's Daniel Nitzki.
Exactly.
Hello.
Exactly. Now, for Daniel, by the way, it's not his first experience. It's his second time that he's playing the U.S. Championship, but I think he's the youngest in the field. I think Daniel is 18.
18 years old, yeah.
Got his grandmaster title, by the way. Daniel
He is a
now
grandmaster,
a
and
grandmaster.
he's a Stanford scholar, and he got into Stanford.
Exactly.
So I guess his parents are pretty happy.
Exactly.
He did all right.
For sure. Now, Mac has opened also with a queen pawn. We're seeing a Nimzo Indian, Queen's Indian on our board. Bishop b4 check, bishop d2. Now, capturing on d2, that's not the most common. It's more natural for black to play a move like a7, a5, supporting the bishop, or even queen d8 to e7. Bishop captures d2. That's considered a move that actually is beneficial to white because white gets to develop while black is simply trading pieces. Black's bishop has moved twice, white's bishop moved once. So, and bishop a6, that's a common theme. You don't automatically put your bishop on the long diagonal, but you go after this pawn on a6. So bishop a6, Mac played b2, b3, simply defending the pawn. c7, c6. And now after this move d7, d5, thanks to this bishop being fianchettoed, we're getting a variation that looks very, very similar to a Catalan. With this pawn on d5, black is putting pressure on the c4 pawn, which explains Mac's move, which is knight e5. White opens up the position for his bishop while protecting the pawn on c4. Now, I believe we do have a move by, yes, well, we see Onischuk is up from the board. I do believe that Alex played knight f6, d7, simply trying to get rid of this knight on e5. Keep in mind that this knight on b8 had to remain in place to keep this pawn on c6 defended. So
Pretty sophisticated opening here, right? Like
definitely.
the bishop on a6, the knight on b8, it looks kind of like if you're just teaching somebody how to play chess, this is not the opening you're teaching them.
Exactly.
It's a little bit weird looking.
Yeah, sophisticated is the right term. Yeah, a lot of subtle moves, this bishop b4 check and so forth and so on.
You like sophisticated better than weird? Really?
Yeah.
Well, we do
Weird
have
implies
Weird
like
has
something
that
could be
negative
wrong.
connotation.
Something could be wrong.
So we got actually Grandmaster Maurice Ashley with his thoughts on the most interesting opening of the day. What do you think, Maurice?
Well, what's interesting is how cagey these players are playing right now. You see this position with Gata Kamsky playing a very solid opening with the black pieces against Timur Gareyev. In this position, he's been thinking for quite some time. The theory here seems to suggest that knight to e4 is the best move, followed by the drop back with bishop to h4, and then knight to c6. And in this position after e3, black can play the very sharp queen to a5, already threatening to take that knight on c3, and the move solidly supposed to be queen b3. The lines seem to say that black is just fine here, so we have to wonder what is it that Gareyev has planned in this line that's going to really put a bite in black's position. Black seems to be perfectly okay after some very natural moves, so Gareyev must have some trick up his sleeve in this line. There's some other games to look at that's really interesting. You talked about this game as well, Robson, Erenburg. This opening line with this idea of bishop to g5, only one game was victorious for white in this line with the idea of trading off these bishops. You see Erenburg choosing to castle. This has been quite successful for black to castle in this position, and black has a very solid game, nothing wrong with the pawn structure. Of course, you see white is definitely trying to demolish the pawn structure here by taking on f6 to leave black with weak pawns so he can chew on something. So that's a game to watch, but again, very solid type of position for black. Now the Molner game, that position right now is not super interesting, but I'd like to show you a game that Molner had in this line. He played this against Glenn House. I've watched Mackenzie's games. This guy likes to destroy people. That's his first rule. Number one, kill you, kill you, kill you. So he's playing a very solid position right now, which is kind of, I guess it's his first championship. He's playing a past champion in Onischuk. He wants to be cool and cagey in the beginning, but trust me, his instincts are, I want to kill you. And this game that he played in Budapest in this year, as a matter of fact, in March, he got a great position. You look at all of white's pieces just all over black, and look at this beautiful finish. After his opponent played rook g8, he sacrificed his queen with queen takes, queen takes here, got a knight for it also, a rook and a knight, and after king to d7, he played this sweet move, rook to c7 check, sacrificing his rook. Obviously, the king is under attack, so is the queen, and after king takes, a knight fork attacking both king and queen with this knight, and after king to d6, he took back his queen, and after king takes, he finished with a nice bishop to g4, the point being that he's pinning this bishop, and somebody's going down because the bishop cannot take because the rook is behind it, so totally crushing his opponent. So I like this young player. He said to me yesterday when we were at the opening ceremony, I hope I get Kamsky in round one. So he's got attitude. Well, he's got Onischuk. His hands are full. We'll see how he proceeds for the rest of the championship. Guys?
Thank you, Maurice. Wow, I can't wait to see what we see from Mackenzie in this championship.
Right. Well, in a round robin, he's definitely guaranteed to get Kamsky in some rounds, so it may not have been round one, but they will play. I pulled up the game between Timur Gareyev and Gata Kamsky, again, a key matchup, obviously, in round one.
Great.
And something has gone wrong very early for Gata. I don't like Gata's position at all. I've played the white side of a Slav myself in world-class competitions, and I've never gotten such an excellent opening as white so early in those games that I've played. So white, in my eyes, has a big advantage. And what exactly, why did this happen? What has Gata done wrong? We'll go back to where we left it. We left it about these parts, and Gata played e7, e6. This is a very normal move to be able to defend the knight with the queen, and the pawn comes up to e6 to defend the pawn on d5. We had spoken earlier about that. Pawn being potentially weak, e3, knight c6, bishop d3, and h6. Very, very common move. Everything is okay so far. And then Gata lashed out with this move g5. Okay, so Gata is really going after this bishop. The bishop dropped back to g3, and Gata played knight h5 with the very consequent idea of being able to capture that bishop. The bishop went to e5, and this is the moment that I'm really taken aback. Gata retreated his knight with knight f6.
So it wasn't as much the g5 thing.
Well, the g5 thing is to be able to win the bishop, right? You're making a weakness, a long-term weakness on the king side to be able to win the two bishops. And by playing knight back to f6, whoa. Normally what...
So you would have hoped for something, I mean, the problem perhaps was that he was worried about the...
Well, I had expected, let's say, knight takes e5. Everybody would have played knight takes e5. I think Gata would have been happy about knight takes e5 dropping, then returning with his knight. Something must have dissuaded Gata that he probably didn't like the recaptured d4 takes e5, which takes away the square, the retreating square for this black knight. Gata, that is to say, probably felt that after, for example, a move like knight g7, knight d4, he found something about this position that he intuited wasn't good for him.
It doesn't look fun with like potential h4 and queen g4 is coming in. It looks very pleasant for white indeed.
Right. White can build up a kingside initiative, again, thanks to the fact that black has advanced his kingside pawns with the h6 g5 advance.
But it's also an exciting moment for us though, because it means that this game is not going to be boring. So regardless, good for Kamsky, not as good for Kamsky. We know that after he made this weakness, Gareyev's gonna
seek to exploit it.
Exactly.
Big time.
And you know, it kind of reminds me a little bit. Gata Kamsky played this live against Magnus Carlsen in Sinkfield Cup, and he also made like some kind of weaknesses on the king side, and he got like counterplay, and he ended up losing the game. But it certainly made it a lot more interesting. Do you remember that game?
Oh gosh,
where he
it
played
was
like
great.
the h5 and the g5.
Yes, we initially thought that Gata was building up an attack, and then Magnus handled the attack and then rebuffed him. And then it was, in the end, Magnus won it on the
That's
kingside.
right. So let's see if that happens in this game. But right now, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be back with much more from the 2014 U.S. Championships and U.S. Women's. Hello and welcome back. We are at the 2014 U.S. Chess Championships, and we've got a game we haven't seen yet. I was really excited about this game. We've got Grandmaster Alejandro Ramirez, who was last year's runner-up at the championship, playing against Sam Shankland, two very exciting players who, no doubt, came into this to win.
Without question. Alejandro last year had literally the tournament of his life. Getting into a tie with Gata Kamsky for the national championship, narrowly losing in an Armageddon game that had us on the edge of our seats. Today,
We got a quasi-Grunfeld here.
yeah, I think that Sam Shankland, by the way, we all know the pre-tournament favorites. Kamsky, Gareyev, Onischuk, those three guys, you know, are 1, 2, 3. But to my mind, coming into this event, there's some dark horses, and Sam is one of my pre-tournament favorites, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Really, I think that Sam comes into the round with into this tournament, pardon me, with a great deal of confidence. He just played in a tournament in Europe, Norway, where he had an over 2,700 world-class performance, and he's brimming with confidence. At the opening ceremony yesterday, I chit-chatted with him a little, and he is just ready. He's hungry.
He looks like he's happy to be here, happy to play. He's got a great attitude, and
Without question. And let's just see, very important what kind of frame of mind you come to the championship with. Sam, very well known for playing Grunfeld, Slav defenses. Again, sophisticated opening, knight f3, opening move.
Well, if your opponent wants to play the Grunfeld, knight f3 and g3 is kind of a good antidote, because without playing d4, you can't really play the Grunfeld against it.
Exactly. So after g6, again, Sam shows his cards a little, that he's ready to play a Grunfeld. And then the move c4, trying to put pressure on this pawn on d5. It was captured. Queen a4 with a double attack, a check to black's king, as well as being ready to gobble up this pawn on c4, recapturing his pawn. Knight c6. Now this is actually a key moment, and what white would like to do is white would like to play knight e5 to put pressure on the knight on c6 and to follow it up with bishop g2. At the moment, that's premature because of queen d5. Queen d5 has this nasty threat to the rook on h1. So knight e5 was not the move, but it's a type of move that white really wants to play. Instead, Alejandro played queen takes c4, recovering his pawn, bishop g7, bishop g2, knight f6, and I'm expecting the simple castles. So after, for example, castles by both players, the game still has a lot ahead of it. It's not, it's still very theoretical. The players are still working their way through theory. Nothing exciting, too exciting at the moment.
All right, let's switch over to another game. How about in the women's championship? I'm
Sure.
interested in a battle between two of our younger stars here. We've got WGM Tatev Abrahamian, who has gained all of her IM norms. So she's actually an international master now, and I believe she's made it over 2,400 FIDE. I think that was the only thing that was behind her and the title. So she should be getting that title soon.
Having it confirmed by the World Chess Federation.
Exactly.
Yes.
She had a really good tournament in Reykjavik, Iceland.
Yes, I followed that event. It was very nice for her. I was cheering her on all the way.
So she's really somebody to watch out for in terms of perhaps challenging Anna and Irina, who keep winning this championship.
They are the favorites,
Alyssa Melekhina just graduated law school.
Exactly. So now she can turn, at last, her attention to chess.
So she's always dangerous and very colorful. I'm kind of a fan of the hair. I'm sure you're not shocked.
No. Seeing a lot of hair color this event.
Yeah, there is a lot. There are some crazy hair colors in this event. I like that. Keep it colorful, keep it interesting. So we've got an opening that these two have played before.
The most classical Italian opening, the Gioco Piano, in Italian that means quiet game, e2, e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6. Now again, we see this move bishop c4, and from the 1600s, this bishop coming out to attack that pawn on f7, the Italian bishop, matched by bishop c5. We are now in the oldest variations of chess. These variations have been literally played for 500 years. Bishop c5, black responds with her own counterattack against the pawn on f2. Castles, again, the Gioco Piano, quiet game, d2, d3, simply defending the pawn on e4. As we move it along, castles, rook e1. Now that move is not considered the most accurate. I believe the most accurate move is the pawn to c3, but it can transpose.
Very patriotic, these two. I know the blue, the red, the flag. Actually, though, in person, the hair really is purple.
Oh, my goodness.
It's so much more purple than that. That's why you have to come here live, you guys, at least once, because we're here at the beautiful St. Louis Chess Club, and it looks bluer I guess it looks kind of purple now that you see the close-up. But
Yeah.
anyway, both of these players have great hair, and they've played each other 7 times, actually.
Really?
In different
Wow.
championships. I mean, that's what we were talking about earlier, that the U.S. Women's Championship gives them a chance to really continually battle. They've played this exact opening with both colors, actually, in different U.S. chess championships. One time, Alyssa won with black in this opening, and one time, Tatev won with white. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. Those were also U.S. Chess Championships here in St. Louis in 2009 and 2010.
Absolutely, yeah. So E takes D5, let's see, I think we're up to date with the players. I'm expecting the move Knight takes D5. We're still
Okay,
in theory.
so we've got something from Grandmaster Maurice Ashley, I think, on a game from the championship, but we'll keep an eye on this game.
Oh, yes.
Actually, Jen, you had mentioned the young Sam Shankland, who's, he's always effusive in attitude and behavior. Effervescent is the word I was looking for. He's really excited to play in this championship. Young player from California. He mentioned he was the 3rd youngest at the championship. He's feeling like an old man these days. Well, he definitely is not. And I wanted to show you a game of his that I found that really shows why this kid is up and coming and truly indeed one of the strong young players in the country. Now his rating, I believe, is at 2635 FIDE in climbing, I would say. This game he played in Dresden last year against Yevgeny Vorobyov, a 2600 player himself. And they had this crazy position. Already you can see H-pawns push, king definitely under attack. Vorobyov played this move F5, which is kind of standard in this kind of structure, except nobody gave Sam the memo because he decided, look, I'm just going to attack with H5 and take a look at this sequence. After F takes E4, H takes G6, E takes on F3, capture is happening, bishop takes. After this move, bishop takes on F3, looks like the normal move is to capture back, right? After all, your rook is under attack. Sam said, take my rook, I don't mind. There went a rook. This position, black is a full rook up. Sam could get the bishop back. Sam said, no, I'm on the attack now. Bishop to H6, suddenly swarming around the black king. Black suddenly is in trouble. Pieces are going to drop off here. Queen is lurking, getting ready to come into the position. So rook to F1 check, giving the rook back. And after takes, check, king H1, and now bishop to H6 and rook takes. And white's now only down a bishop, but he's also got some crazy ideas about bringing his queen into D5 check, his rook down. So black played bishop back to C2, daring white to take the bishop because this rook would be under attack. Sam said, I'm not interested in that bishop. I never took that bishop, remember? G7, bam, deflecting the queen. Obviously, if queen were to take now on G7, now queen D5 check would be monstrous, attacking the king and the rook. So black had to play king takes G7 and the calm rook to H3. Look at that king, just completely naked, ready to get demolished by the white pieces. Queen F6 was played, knight D5, bam, attacking the queen. Knight to E4, counterattack. And now this crazy move, rook H7, check to the king. You can't take because your queen drops with check. So the king moved back, and then another calm move, queen E3. And white's dominant, attacking here, still the king in trouble. And the game ended quickly after that. Queen to E5, queen H6 check, king trying to run away, rook check, king still running, queen H3 check, and after king to C6, rook to C8 check, and black had to resign because you can't trade rooks because it's checkmate in one. And after rook C8, if you try to run away, it just prolongs the pain for just one more move because now rook takes is mate. A vicious attacking game by Sam. Show what kind of style he has. He's aggressive, he's buoyant, and he wants to destroy. Now, you see them sitting calmly here, but churning in that kid's mind is kill, kill, kill. And he's very much in play here at the U.S. Championship. Back to you guys.
That's right.
Sparkling finish. That was very, very impressive. Nice sequence. Thank you, Maurice, sharing that one. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Don't give this kid a chance to attack you. He'll go for it.
Brilliant calculator, and yeah, I I was just reading about his tournament in Norway that you mentioned, where he
Yes.
had a 2,770 performance rating.
Wow.
He actually wrote in his blog on chess.com that it was his best result yet, but yet, even that, he was hard on himself. He talks about a move that he misplayed. He talks about how he shouldn't have drawn against his friend and I guess a second or somebody who he seconds occasionally,
Right.
Hammer.
Yes, from Norway. Yes.
In the final round. So I think it's really a characteristic of greatness that even when you perform amazing, you're still looking for things to criticize.
Yeah, absolutely. Chess players, grandmasters, we're all artists. We're looking for perfection. And we can have the tournaments of our lives and still recall the fact that, well, it could have been better only if, woulda, coulda, shoulda, we would have made that better move, we would have had a finer result.
That's right. Well, we also have the Women's Championship going on, and two tremendous role models we have here in the Women's Championship. We've got Irina Zenyuk, who I love because she is playing in the Women's Championship every year, always coming with great preparation, and that really belies her completely other career, which is as a scientist. She's doing her postdoc now in Berkeley.
With fuel cells,
Yeah.
trying to make fuel cells that much more efficient. And she says that she's looking for a geek. She wants a geeky guy who, studies and works hard. And I thought it was very funny to say, geeks want it.
That's right. So those of you who are geeky listening to the show, I'm sure it's a very small percentage.
Yeah, very small percentage.
The few of you who are out there, Irina Zenyuk apparently single, and she's going to kill me if she hears about this conversation on the air.
I promise not to
It
tell.
never happened.
Never
Well,
happened.
one really exciting thing we have here, and we are going to take a look at this game in just a minute, but I want to remind everyone that we've got live commentators here in St. Louis as well.
Absolutely.
We've got live commentators right next door at Lester's, a wonderful sports bar, and we've got Grandmaster Robert Hess, who's
Okay.
done amazingly in this tournament in the past, coming as high as second place, along with the hilarious Grandmaster Ben Feingold. And every day, we're going to get one of them to give their take on what's going on in these games. Today, we have Grandmaster Robert Hess. He also founded a site called the Sports Quotient, so he's going to be giving us the chess quotient here with Grandmaster Maurice Ashley.
Thanks, Jen. I'm here with Grandmaster Robert Hess, one of the fine young grandmasters in the country today. Just finished his junior year at Yale University. Robert, thanks for coming on the show.
My pleasure, Maurice.
Robert, you've been in this championship before. I mean, you've played twice. You've come, as Jen said, second place even. What are the feelings of the young players in a championship like this?
Yeah, I mean, I played it the last 5 years, and it's really difficult because some players are more experienced than you are, and for the young girl, Astritha Eswaran, it must be really nerve-wracking. And I was talking about this with Ben in the room next door. She has to decide whether she wants to be aggressive or be scared and a little passive, and it's a very hard balance to find.
When you were first playing, your very first one, were you scared out of your mind, or were you confident you would do well?
I was always pretty confident. I mean, there definitely has to be a little bit of, you just be a little timid, but I was pretty confident when I was playing.
All right, these games you've been commenting now with the Ben Feingold, as you mentioned, at Lester's. What are the interesting games you've seen so far in this tournament?
Oh, definitely Molner versus Onischuk. So they've never played before. And, we were watching this next door, and Molner, I think, made play a novelty with knight e5 to d3 a few moves ago, and he sacrificed a pawn for a nice strong bishop on g2. And it looks like Black might have some trouble on the queen side, and it was just really nice to see Molner kind of coming out aggressive against Onischuk.
Yesterday, we were talking with him, and he said right away he wants Gata Kamsky in round one. And that said to me that this kid has come to win the championship. Have you seen any of his other games? It seems to me that he's just a strong attacking player. He's out for blood, and already it seems indicated by this game.
Yeah, I played Mac a lot of times, and he's a very aggressive player, very dangerous, loves sharp openings, and he's not scared of anyone. He almost won the U.S. Open, and he qualified here as a wild card. He's ready to take down some people in this field.
Indeed. So you have a website, the Sports Quotient, that gives all the great data about sports. What's your chess quotient? What are the data we should be looking for from this championship?
Well, thanks also to Ed Gonsalves for providing us a lot of stats. But, for example, in the matchup Zenyuk versus Zatonskih, Zenyuk has never beaten Zatonskih. In fact, 6-0 in Zatonski's favor. And all those games have come at the Women's Championship. So with that in mind, their game today is a pretty big one. I know Irina Zenyuk has improved a lot since a year ago, but the numbers are really on his favor.
Indeed, Anna has won the championship 4 times, so we expect her to take a lead. Anything you're looking forward to from the championship, or future rounds, or anything more from this round?
I mean, that'll be interesting to see the game Gareyev versus Kamsky. They're the two, heavyweights in this field, along with Onischuk. Also, the game Ramirez versus Shankland. Ramirez beat Shankland twice with white last year. Once in the U.S. Championship and once after that in the World Open. So again, Ramirez is white, and we'll see how that game plays out. And one more interesting thing is the game Friedel versus Lenderman. They played twice before with black winning both games. So usually white has the advantage, but in this series it looks like black so far has had the advantage. We'll see if Josh can turn that around.
Awesome indeed. Thanks so much, Grandmaster Robert Hess, providing lots of insights over at Leicester's with Grandmaster Ben Feingold and lots of data from the Sports Quotient. Check out his site. What is the site exactly?
www.thesportsquotient.com.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Grandmaster Hess, for your insights. Back to you, Jen and Yaz.
Thanks, guys. Wow, so this is a perfect segue to take a look back at Zenyuk Zatonskih.
Sure.
Grandmaster Hess pointed out Zatonskih has taken her down every single time. And I remember some of those battles were pretty fierce because they're such good fighting players, the two of these.
Right, but 6-0, you almost feel snake bitten, don't you? Jennifer, didn't you have somebody that just had your number and you just hated that person, whoever he or she may have been? Who was your...
Irina had I had a tough time with her, yeah.
Oh.
She beat me when, especially, I finally won a game at some point, and that it feels like the...
Like a
But it's
relief, a
important.
sense of relief, right?
Exactly, but it's important to try to stay objective. I mean, you got to consider it. I mean, just as as a poker player as well, you really have to not get too tilted.
Right.
If you have a rating and you're playing against someone, you have your odds of drawing and winning against them, and you kind of have to forget about previous results.
Right.
And not be weighed down by that. And the person who also needs this message quite desperately is our #1 player in the country, Nakamura. Sometimes when you see him lose another game to Carlsen, you just want to give him a big hug.
I know. But the really, the sad part about those losses that Hikaru has suffered, he was on the sunny side of those games. He was having really good positions.
Getting so close.
And as he twittered himself, it really took a lot of talent to lose one of the games that he was winning so dramatically by.
Speaking of twittering, which we also call tweeting, yes.
Yeah,
well, that's
okay,
okay.
twittering.
We like it when
I
you...
like the twittering.
So if you want to tweet at us, get a chance to see your comment
Mm-hmm.
on the show, the hashtag is US Chess Champ. So you can send in your questions and your comments, and some of them we'll get a chance to read over the air.
Right. Now I see on my screen that we have the wrong setup. I'm looking at the game between Anna Zatonskih and Zenyuk, but you're not able to see my board at the moment. We'll get that fixed in a moment.
Yeah.
But what I'm seeing is still an early stage game between Zenyuk and Zatonskih. I don't see either player having an edge at this moment, so I'm still seeing all 3 results possible.
That's right, and it just seems like a nice, like we said, Irina Zenyuk usually tends to be really well prepared in the opening, and it seems like traditionally she has a pleasant game for white. I like white.
Yeah, no question about it, and Anna at the board, deeply in concentration there. I see both players thinking about that.
And remember, we should tell you that the one with the blue and white jacket is the one who's single. The other one is married with a kid.
Yeah,
Sophia.
Sophia
That's
is
right.
a sweet little girl.
Yeah, and let's
just take a
it
look.
looks like we do have that game up. Although I think we're still seeing the other women's championship game that we talked about before, the one between Abrahamian and Melekhina.
Yes, that.
So.
Yeah, I think that the board is wrong at the moment. Oh, there we go. Oh, yes. What I brought up on the screen is the game between Abrahamian and Melekhina, but the tags of the names of the players are wrong.
So basically, right now we're looking at Abrahamian. While we're here, let's just take a look and talk about this game, Abrahamian versus Melekhina. Right now, it looks like black Alyssa Melekhina has just played queen to d6, defending her pawn on e5.
Exactly.
So what do you think of all this? I know that if black can get in d5 without anything really annoying happening, then that's usually a positive because all of our pieces are flowing into the game. But
big time
sometimes
positive.
It's tough to get it done so quickly. And queen d6 seems like a tiny bit awkward. I'm a little worried about pawns coming b4, c4. How are the tactics working out here?
Exactly. The nice part about this particular situation with the pawn on a6 is usually the b4, b5 ideas are unfortunately mistimed for the white player. Normally what white is trying to do is put a little bit of pressure on this pawn on e5 and usually follows up with the move queen e2 and then a future knight c4. Again, I don't think we're getting the connection between my board and what unfortunately the viewers are seeing, but rest assured, nothing spectacular is going on at the moment, but the battle is definitely heating up.
So what do you think? Who do you like playing in these types of positions?
I have a slight preference for black. As you say, if nothing bad happens, I like the space.
Right. Yeah, and there is a reason that you might want to try refreshing, but there's a reason why the Ruy Lopez is the most popular opening in chess, right?
Absolutely.
Because a lot of times when you get d5 in,
yeah,
that really gives black that grasp at equality. And when the bishop's sitting on c4, d5 comes with a bigger punch. You know, it sounds very oversimplified, but there is like an inherent logic to why, you know, everybody used to play bishop c4, and now everybody's playing bishop b5.
Exactly. Well, it's sort of like the evolution of chess opening theory. And in the early days of swashbuckling chess, of the romantic sacrifice and playing for checkmate, today that's kind of taken a backseat to the scientific, rigorous approach of computer-analyzed openings and vetting of the openings through millions of games of grandmaster practice. I pulled up the game between Gata, Kamsky, and Gareyev, and that still has not been reflected on my board. We have the Melekhina and Abrahamian game. Maybe we can ask Maurice to give us an update on the games and see if I can't refresh my board a little bit.
Yeah, we'll take a look at that in a minute while he gets set up. I heard there's some excitement happening on the Friedel board as well.
Okay.
I don't think we've actually looked at the Josh Friedel game yet today.
No.
Josh Friedel, as Robert Hess pointed out, winning his spot at the U.S. Open, which took place last year in Madison. And he's playing against Alexander Lenderman, who's played in this championship several times before, but last year was not present, so...
Yeah, Lenderman, by the way, one of our young talents, he's had some really up and down results of late. Missing the U.S. Championship last year was not a good factor. Let's see what we've got here. We've got a kind of a, wild opening.
That's right,
Very
and
imbalanced.
I think we do have Grandmaster Maurice Ashley ready with his smartboard to take us through that.
All right.
Indeed, guys, this position is definitely interesting. Yaz, I think it's in your wheelhouse, so I'm going to defer to you in a moment, but let's just look at the basics. In this position, everything looks very solid, typical English opening. You see the knights on d5 and c3 reinforcing one another, black dropping his knight back so that he can get his thing going on the other side of the board. And in this position, he played the move bishop to h3, did black, trying to trade off this light squared bishop, a critical bishop on this long diagonal. And after bishop to d2, just ignoring it, we saw the trade, and now the aggressive move f5, seeking to touch down at some later stage near this white king. White calmly played rook to a to e1, and now rook to f7. Kind of an interesting move, preparing, I don't know what, along this rank, to be honest. Very subtle move, kind of just bringing the rook up. Maybe he wanted to prepare for the later time he doubled rooks. But white decided, no, I'm not having any of it. I'm going to play f4 now, shut down any hope of any advance on this side. And after this capture, e takes f4, the very interesting g takes f4. Now remember, when I first saw this idea, being very confused by it, why would you open up your king? But this is a typical response to the e-pawn capturing, is to capture back with the g-pawn. Still, you see this white king looking very exposed. Yaz, this is your wheelhouse, as I mentioned. What do you think about this position for the white side?
Oh, most definitely. I am an English opening player, have been through most of my career. I love the English, love the Catalan, love fianchetto bishops. I thought that black had pretty much equalized with the move bishop h3, trading off bishops. And the final position that we had, Maurice, when you left it, the real purpose of the move rook f7 is to be able to drop back with the knight to d8. So the idea of rook f7 is to protect the queen. That knight's in a pin, thanks to that queen being on a4. And if white trades queens, then these knights, which are at the moment kind of behind in the hospital, to say, on the 8th rank, the idea is to be able to play c7, c6, and these knights quickly pop out. I think the game is about even. And that, as for that move, G3 takes F4, exposing the white king, quite so. You're absolutely right, no question about that. But don't forget our old standby cliche, capture towards the center. So at the moment, I feel that while all three results are possible, I have always had an affinity for white's position.
All right, so, and you think this one, it's not going to be a
Oh,
quickie.
there's no. There's a lot of battle ahead. This is still anybody's game.
So just because queen's off the board
Oh,
doesn't mean that hands are shaking.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. No, this is a full throttle battle ahead of us.
Okay, and we are going to take a little break and come back with more coverage here from the 2014 U.S. Championships and U.S. Women's Chess Championships. are back at the 2014 U.S. Chess Championships and U.S. Women's Championships here in St. Louis, and we have a big surprise for you. Might not be a happy surprise for all of you, but let's take a look at the tournament room. We've got an empty board. What happened? Did somebody hang their queen?
It was a threefold repetition. The top two players, Timur Gareyev and Gata Kamsky, have drawn their first round matchup, and they're the official first result that we have here in this U.S. Championship.
And you were surprised by that because you thought that Gata Kamsky, you didn't like his opening. So you thought that Gareyev was going to be pressing.
I didn't like the Gata's opening. I thought that Timur was going to go for a double-edged idea with e3, e4. I spoke with Gata before while we were off the air, and he was a bit surprised, but he explained Timur's decision very well. Let's find out what he had in mind.
Grandmaster Maurice Ashley here with the defending champion and the first game of the 2014 U.S. Chess Championships.
Indeed, we should say the four-time champion, Grandmaster Gata Kamsky. Your game is over. We were looking for a big fight. We had you at the key matchup of the tournament, and now this quick draw. Please explain why this decision was made.
Okay, well, the way I see it, the chess is part art, part science, part sport, and in this matchup, this first round, we have a long tournament, and today played the first rank, second rank players, so, you know, we were kind of wary, and we wanted to see how things go, so I played my usual system, which I played for many, many years, and White played a really solid line where he is a few tempi up, you know, he has more developed pieces, and what happened is that once he played bishop g5, he allowed me the idea of h6 g5 and going after his bishop g3 with knight on h5. So the whole idea in this line is whether White wants to take risk and start to open up the position, go after my king, but the situation is completely unclear.
So let's take a look at that. He could have played this move, and you're saying he could have played the move e4.
Right. Well, we have to consider that there are many possibilities here. White could also play h3. He could also go for short castle and go for this structure with the taking on e5 with the pawn or with the knight. There are a lot of possibilities because the more lines you go look further, it rises exponentially. So you have to consider investing a lot of energy and a lot of time into this particular game. It's only the first round and there's still other games ahead. So I would consider like at football, you know, you have to know where you have to save energy and where you have to spend it, you know, to go for a win.
Were you surprised he chose this variation that led to this kind of uncertain position that may lead to a draw?
Well, there's been a lot of lines he could play because he's a very versatile player, and I wasn't prepared for this exact line, but it's, I would say it's a fair choice because White has the small advantage. He doesn't actually risk a lot of things. But the way I played it, actually I forced him to make a decision right there on the spot whether he actually wants to invest all the time and energy to try to win this game. And he has to make this decision early on without actually being able to see the final result or the position which may arise later. So that's a difficult situation. I can give you an example. Like early this year, I played in Gibraltar. I played against Vasily Onischuk with White. And I remember he prepared really well. So on the move 4, I was confronted with a new idea by Vasily. And I was faced with a very unpleasant choice because I was playing White. And I felt that, you know, I had to play for a win somehow because I have an advantage of the first move. And of course, you know, it's a very unusual situation, but I was running the risk of getting actually a much worse position. And after spending an hour and 15 minutes maybe on the move 5 and 6, I was forced to go for a draw with White. Sometimes things like that just happen, and that's my understanding what happened here. And even though White can play indeed here e3 and e4, that would mean a lot of risk.
So what do you feel about the topic of the draw in general? I mean, you know there's been a lot of controversy about quick draws, that the fans don't like it, the organizers don't like it. What is your position on the topic of being able to offer a draw and end the game pretty quickly when everybody really was looking forward to a matchup?
Well, as I said, chess is part science, and in science sometimes you go for an experiment and you see that it's not going to be fruitful, do you really want to go for it and spend a lot of time and energy in it? It's like you have to know when to cut your costs and to go after the promising clients, right? And chess is, again, part sport, part art, and part science. And in this case, I think it was a science decision here.
So you feel that this is a good situation for you? You had the black pieces in the first round. Do you feel comfortable moving forward in the tournament?
Well, we each play chess according to our own style. I mean, chess allows the individual to play the way he only plays. It's like a unique way to play chess. And the way I play here, I try to, be harmonious, make a development, and try to seek a best solution in every situation. And that's the way I play. I mean, I didn't do anything special today. It's just the way I play chess. And as I said, sometimes things like this happen. I played like maybe 40 or 50 games in this year already. And this is only the second time when I had a really short draw.
Do you feel, final question for you, do you feel that the organizers have a right to maybe change rules that would prevent something like this from happening if they don't want to see it happen?
Well, certainly you can change a lot of things if you want to, but that will change the game radically. I mean, the game has been played for so many years, centuries even. World championship matches. I mean, we can go back to Karpov and Kasparov. I mean, in the first match where the match was radically stopped at the score of 5-3. I mean, at that time we had unlimited games, and the first player to reach the 6-0, he wins. And if you remember that match, in the games like from 20 to 40s or something, they had draws which ended like at 15 or 16 moves.
Absolutely.
And if the great players like Karpov and Kasparov, they've been playing short moves like almost in every game there. I mean, there's nothing you can do. It's, again, the focus is on the final result here. Mm-hmm. And you have to pick your battles. Like, you don't want to fight losing battles, right?
Indeed. Well, the four-time champion, defending champion, starting off in the first round with a draw with the black pieces, and we wish you luck in the rest of your games.
Thank you.
Thank you. Back to you, Jen and Yaz.
Thank you, Maurice. Thank you, Gata. Well, let's take a look while we're waiting for our other guest, actually. Timur Gareyev is going to come and give his take, obviously, with white. He's going to have even more questions to defend himself from, right?
Exactly.
But we want to take a quick look at the game between Molner and Onischuk, because that's gotten quite interesting, actually.
Molner and Onischuk.
We saw a slashing victory by Molner earlier, and very exciting to have him in the field. And also Onischuk, always an interesting player as well, in contention for the top spots. And here it looks like Molner's actually sacrificed a pawn.
Precisely. We'll just go back a few moves before we reach this position. What had happened is we had left the game around these parts where white had played this early move, knight e5, what Maurice Ashley had described as a novel approach. And Molner, not interested in trading knights on d7, he made the retreat move knight d3, which offered the c4 pawn as bait. Well, Alex took the bait. He grabbed the pawn, and now came this move knight b4, attacking this bishop on a6 as well as the pawn on c6. Alex said, give me the pawn.
Give me pawn.
Give me the pawn. Takes on b3, takes on a6, takes on a6, and recapture. So white has lost a pawn, but what is left in the position is this beautiful bishop on the long diagonal staring down at that pawn on c6.
That's right, and the knight on a6 has woefully few squares to choose from here, because b4 is taken, a knight can't really be protected. So, I mean, you just have to go back.
And he has to defend the pawn on c6. That's why we saw that retreat. Knight on a6
Thank
to b8.
goodness he's up a pawn here, because
Exactly.
this would not be pretty if not, right? So now Molner is simply castling, and
Castles. Knight a3 developing. a7, a5. Essentially, black is suffering under this long diagonal, and Onischuk is saying, look, my rook on a8 is not in the game. So the move a7, a5 is trying to play this maneuver of rook a7 to c7 to get the rook in the battle. Rook c1, again putting pressure on the sensitive c6 pawn, and I believe we're up to date with that.
And now you're predicting rook a7 here?
Yes, black can return the pawn if he would like with the move rook a7, and after trading on c6, material equality has been restored, and after rook c7, rook c8, some rooks are going to be hacked off. White has a pull. I like that rook on c6. It's
That's
a very
right,
powerful
because
position.
How do you contest that file? I mean, you can't, because the queen's ready to come behind the rook as well.
Exactly.
So this is...
We might see, for example, in case what you just said,
I
in
like
case the...
if queen a8 now, and now if the queen comes to protect, you might be able to play into something like knight c5
Right.
to kind of to interfere between the defense of the... But I mean, that probably wouldn't work because you just have rook b6.
Right.
So
queen
it's an
c2,
idea,
yeah,
but-
queen a8 trying to challenge the c file. What you have just said, after white defends the rook, this attractive looking move, knight c5, temporarily looks good because you cut the connection, but guess what? Black hangs the pawn on b6, rook takes b6, and I'll take the extra pawn. Thank you
That's
very much.
right. So it just looks better for white, but Onischuk,
pull.
of course, a fantastic defender. Will he find something different here? And by the way, he did play rook a7, or was that just our analysis?
I think that was just our analysis.
Okay, so maybe he
actually.
won't play rook a7 here. There might be
Right.
another move that he finds to be more
Well, if he
resilient.
Right. If he were to make, for example, a move like queen c7 to simply defend the pawn on c6, you're encouraging white to do something that he really wants to do, is to play knight b5, attacking the queen. Thanks,
right.
that pawn on c6 is pinned. You can't capture the knight. The queen is hanging.
And that's super annoying because now also you're opening up my eyes to being able to play b4 at the right moment.
Exactly.
Perhaps, obviously right now my knight's in take, but in some of those variations now we're going to be able to hammer not only on c6, but also on a5.
Right.
So this will be interesting to see whether Onischuk manages to get equality or if Molnar gets back the pawn with interest.
Precisely.
Now, as we set up our next guest, Gareyev, let's take a quick look at Krush Nemcova because I heard that's getting interesting.
All right.
Our defending U.S. women's champion, Irina Krush, in this game that we saw earlier, an exciting Sicilian. And we were just really out of the opening there, and we saw what Yasser has nicknamed for this round, at least, the Fisher variation.
Right.
Well, I can tell you two players who are not going to get the $64,000 Fisher prize. One of them is here with us, Timur Gareyev. And then, of course, we have Gata Kamsky, because you need to win all 11 games. Usually we go like 2 or 3 rounds with
Right.
somebody still in the running.
With a perfect score.
Yeah. And so we got this Sicilian that's shaping up here, and we are going to move to it right after we talk to Grandmaster Maurice Ashley, who's with Timur Gareyev.
Indeed, the number 2 ranked player in the tournament, actually tied in USCF rating, but behind in the FIDE rating, Timur Gareyev. Grandmaster, thanks for being with us. Yeah. We saw this game that ended against Gata Kamsky. We know he's the 4-time champion and definitely a powerful player, but we were really stunned by the final result that you guys drew so quickly. Give us your thoughts as to why you felt the need to stop the game right here.
Well, when I got the position right off the bat, that's actually the position that I prepared, and the bishop g5. I had the option between bishop g5 and bishop f4, and if you look at the Gata statistics, he actually all he did is a few draws and actually a couple losses against the very strong players. So that was certainly a good spot to be in. And then I chose actually bishop g5, and after e6 I had the knight pinned, so that was certainly promising. Having the knight going towards e5, maybe I should have done that right away. That was a way to take advantage. Can we move this piece?
Yeah,
on the board?
you can just do the moves right here.
Oh, right
The
by here.
moment you're talking, yeah.
Right here, boom, right here.
Yes.
Knight c6. So yeah, bishop is really nicely placed out there on g5. Hitting the knight, pinning the knight. So
And now you play bishop d3.
So then this was a quick move that I played. So I guess here I could have been a little more proactive. I don't know how good knight e5 is, but
This move.
yeah, let's just bring the knight right there. Boom.
Actually, we have to get rid of
I guess it's black's move, is it?
No.
Oh, okay. This is good, right?
New variation.
So new variation. So knight e5. Well, queen b6, bishop b7. I guess that's kind of double-edged. But if you play knight e5 right away, then you don't have the problem with that bishop right there, because the knight is not going to go after it. If the knight gets that bishop, it may seem like white gets something for it, but really, if you're playing against two bishops, it would be positionally disadvantage.
Were you surprised by his choice now to play h6 and g5? Was that still in your preparation?
Oh, I didn't really notice like that resource, which I seem like bishop g3, bishop e5 gives me. I mean, he has to go after bishop e5. He actually has to go back with the knight, because as soon as he captures my bishop right there on e5, I'm going to bring my knight to the center and then support with f4. But then the way he played it, that was a bit of a surprise, yeah.
And so Grandmaster Siron was saying this position looks great for white. He was really happy with white's case, and it looks like it's a sharp line, but still, it doesn't look as though white is in any real danger. Why did you stop now? Why did you decide it was time to stop now?
Well, the real idea that I was assessing is the last idea that I was looking at was to go ahead and castle. So
After bishop e5,
I guess the simple answer to your question, like why did I stop here? Well, based on I was looking for the ways I was looking for ways to get advantage, or to get a clear advantage, and most of the ideas that I saw were fairly double-edged. So now, I mean, I guess the more adventurous side of me, if it was maybe last round or something, and I had to catch up, or maybe the first place dependent, I would have, I might have gone for it, because I did see some opportunities, but I didn't see anything that was clear advantage for me. So most of it was double-edged play. So I figured, I can. And the thing about it, I mean, certainly getting first place is desirable. That's the final prize out here.
Yeah, it seems the point of being in the tournament.
The ultimate prize, besides winning 11 games in a row and picking up extra 64,000. But yeah, certainly, I don't have to beat Gata to get first place, if even that is at stake.
So that's a strategic decision to not fight Gata Kamsky early.
Yeah, that's a smarter decision. The smarter side of me decided to go for it, even though it's a little weak.
Well, I think a lot of people are surprised by the decision. And do you think maybe there's been an idea bandied around? In fact, I've been promoting it, that maybe we should have it that the top players don't play early in the tournament, because things like this could very easily happen.
Oh, it wasn't necessarily. I guess it would kind of warm me up to the battle, but in a way I was ready to fight and go for it. But I guess my expectation was, looking at Kamsky games, his openings are not necessarily his strongest points, right? So in a way, I was looking at, in my mind, I was expecting to get clear advantage. So. My openings are not my strongest point either, but in a way, he's kind of predictable in his preparation, so getting clear advantage. But he's very at ease playing these positions that are point 30 down, so just
evaluating computer-wise. So final question: are you satisfied with the way this tournament has started for you?
Oh, very satisfied, very satisfied. So now I actually have a little bit more time to prepare for tomorrow. I don't know who I'm playing tomorrow. I haven't checked yet, but I'll go prepare. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much, Grandmaster Gareyev, and good luck in the rest of the event.
Thank you, Mers.
All right, thank you. Number 2 player of the tournament, Timur Gareyev, starting off with a mild, quick draw. Back to you, Jenny.
Hey,
Very
thank you,
solid,
Maurice. Thanks,
very
Timur.
solid.
And we actually do have rules against quick draws in the tournament.
Of course.
But repetition is a way out, in a way.
Absolutely. No, a perpetual check,
Yeah.
threefold repetition. Obviously, those games are going to be a draw. You heard Gata reflecting several times, chess is art, sports, science, and all of those other things. One of my favorite quotes is from Vishy Anand. Indian journalist had asked him, what's it feel like to be world champion? And Vishy said, every day I feel like a sportsman. Some days I feel like an artist, some days I feel like a scientist, and some days I feel like an idiot. And I thought that described chess.
Rather than most of the rest of us, you just feel like idiots all the time.
Yeah,
Wow,
I
like
thought
that.
it was really good.
All right, and I think we got another comment on all of that jazz and draws with Maurice Ashley, who's known in his career for coming up with ideas and systems to prevent this kind of exact thing. So it's kind of cool that we have him here to comment, even though we wish it hadn't happened.
Take it away. Give us a rant.
Indeed, to me, it's not cool. I don't think that chess should tolerate this kind of early draws from the top players. Everybody wants to see a fight early on. Well, actually, throughout the whole tournament. What's the point of coming to play chess if you're not here to play chess? And the players, of course, will take advantage of any rule that is available to them. So if they're meeting early in the tournament, you saw numbers 1 and 2 say, I'm not going to fight. Why do I have to lose to this guy early on and mess up my tournament? They're very comfortable playing strategists throughout the rest of the event. One idea that I proposed that I think will happen in the future is to ensure that these pairings happen even in round robins later in the tournament. Make sure that the top players play in the later rounds just by fiat. Let's say that's what's going to happen. You set that up. 1, 2, 3, and 4, they'll play at the end of the event, so you have the exciting matchups towards the end, all to play for. Players will play aggressive chess early on and not play this kind of tepid chess where so much money has already been invested in this tournament from an organizer's point of view. You know, Breck Singfield probably is pulling his hair out thinking, man, this juicy matchup, and this is what we get in the early rounds. And I also think that draws themselves will be addressed. Draw is a natural result in chess, but a draw is a natural result in every sport. Any sport can see a draw, any sport can see a tie, but every sport, any big name sport, resolves that tie in some way. So I think that there are many methods that folks will be proposing. They have been proposed, but now we'll be trying to make sure that this kind of stuff does not cheat the audience of really excellent fights. Back to you, Jen and Yaz.
Well, at least we get Grandmaster Maurice Ashley's rant, so there's always a silver lining.
No, I'm very sympathetic to that point of view. Chess has been around for millenniums, and over the years, lots and lots of innovative ideas. Maurice and I are of one mind on this issue, and one of the innovative ideas was actually suggested by a FIDE world champion, Kazimzhanov.
That's right.
And Kazimzhanov said, hey, listen, if you make a draw, turn the colors, play a second game, keep the time of the clocks that you used in the first game, and keep playing to a resolution.
I love that idea, and we actually tried that. My brother and I, we had the X-Chess Championships, and we did use that rule.
And how did it go?
It was awesome, because when there was a draw, it was actually kind of fun. I remember we had Alyssa Melekhina and Elliot Liu actually playing.
Fantastic.
2 of the most charismatic chess personalities out there, and it was like, you're kind of like, oh wow, draw, cool. So it's like the opposite feeling that you might get as a spectator.
So instead of being a letdown, now you're looking to a sharper, faster-paced game.
Exactly. The more draws there are, the faster it goes. Now, realistically, in a lot of tournament formats, it's not that easy to implement it because it's like, you know, you're going from classical to rapid.
Right.
But I totally agree with Maurice about experiment. And I heard that there's actually going to be a similar tournament at some point in the near future. So
using that method.
That exact system. So that should be really exciting. We'll keep our eyes on that. Luckily for us, we do have a lot of exciting chess games today, and one of them we were just taking a look at was actually the
Sorry, Jennifer. Let me just
the Krush game.
Yeah, before I bring up the Krush game, I did want to share with our audience what it was in particular that Timur Gareyev and Gata Kamsky, where they did not want to go, why they chose what they did play. And I was speaking with Gata, and it was this move bishop e5, knight f6. So this is the position that they achieved. And what Gata and I were discussing, and I saying, look, Gata, I'm sorry, man, I think white stands really well. And he was sympathetic. He said, yes, he was quite confident that white had an edge, but where he felt that Timur had to decide whether or not he was taking a risk was in this line of play. Now, Gata and I were just doing this mentally with one another. We were playing what we call blindfold chess with each other. And I was saying, look at this powerful knight. And he said, yes, sir, yes, you're absolutely right. This is what I thought was the crucial line of play. He had expected Timur to go down this line, but he was explaining why he felt that it wasn't all just play on one goal, that Timur would have to take a risk. But this is the position where we stopped, and he said, I'm sorry, I think the position's double-edged. And so just to share with our audience what was going through the mind of Gata
Fun for White.
I thought so too.
Looks like a lot of fun for White to me. Speaking of openings that are fun for White,
Yes.
the white side of the Sicilian, we were just getting into this Fischer variation.
Yes, let's bring that.
Otherwise known as the Sozin, or the Fischer Sozin, actually. Isn't that what it's called?
Well,
you think it should be just called the Fischer?
The Fischer variation of the knight.
This Bishop C4 line against the Sicilian. And let's see, what do we have?
When we had left this game with Arena,
It was just the beginning. We were just
Right.
at Bishop C4, E6. Yeah.
exactly, Bishop C4, E6, Queen E2. So this move just sets up for White to tuck her king over here on the queen side. Queen C7.
And it's kind of unusual in the Sicilian. Normally the queen goes to D2, but in this particular line, it's a little bit different because we wanted to support the B5 and C4 squares.
Exactly.
And also the F4 push.
Exactly, and oftentimes the queen ends up being better placed on the E2 square, not only to support the pawn on E4, but should that pawn on E4 ever be captured, it doesn't get captured with a tempo.
That's right, and note that we also want to watch out for knight G4. On D2, knight G4 would be a potential issue.
Exactly. The white queen does keep the G4 square protected. So we have a very standard opening theoretical battle going on. This move, knight A5, seeks to eliminate what could be a potentially very powerful bishop. So that's a very standard move. And G4. Blasting away, trying to expand on the king side and push this knight on F6 out of the center.
And then they agreed to a 3-move repetition.
No, they didn't.
kidding.
Don't you
Obviously
dare.
not.
B5. As White is making his king side expansion, Irina makes her queen side expansion with B7, B5. After B5, G5, attacking the knight on F6. Knight takes with check. This is very important.
In-betweener.
Very important.
We call that a Zwischenzug, or an in-between move.
A Zwischenzug indeed. A takes B3, knight drops back to D7 and F4. And earlier I had talked about the move F5 to put pressure upon the pawn on E4. So all of this is going down the primrose path. Black gets in her own counterattack on the queen side with the move B5, B4, attacking this knight on C3. The knight moved to A4, bishop B7. We see the bishop taking up residence on the long diagonal, attacking the pawn on E4. White dropped back with her bishop. So the purpose of this move was very nice. I like this move very much. Not only do you protect your pawn on E4, but you remind Black that she's got a pawn hanging on the queen side. On B4, knight C5, Arena, going after this pawn on E4. Bishop takes B4, knight takes E4. I think we're up to date here, and this is a wild game. I mean, the players are really going after one another here. I'm hesitant to say who has an advantage here. I'm just saying that all three results are possible, and I'm not sure what the outcome will be. Who has an edge in the opening? It really will depend upon whether this move F4, F5, blasting in the center on the king side works. If it works, White wins. If it doesn't, Black wins.
Very
Simple.
Really nice choice, I think, by Nemcova, though, because like what you said, all three results being possible, I think that even with Irina being Black, her fantastic opening preparation and her great skill, Nemcova should want to mix it up.
Well,
And
definitely.
This was really exactly what she should be doing. I mean, we kind of see like Timur Gareyev with White against Kamsky. That's kind of like an uninspiring edition of what you should do against a high-rated player.
Mm-hmm.
And this is more what people at home should be thinking. You're playing against a higher rated player, play the most aggressive opening actually. You know, just like go for it because frankly, I mean, if it's wild, that benefits you.
Absolutely. I mean, normally speaking, when I was playing in U.S. championships, I was the highest rated player in the field. And I always liked it when my opponents laid back and played what I would call a soft line and not really putting pressure on me. But I really hated it when I was facing a big underdog and he came out wild and swinging. I didn't like that one bit.
No, because you have everything to lose and less to gain. Like she's expected, even with the black pieces, she's expected to win this game. And her opponent comes out swinging. It's great psychologically. It does seem like Nemcova has made a move. It looks like she might have moved her rook from I'm guessing a h1 to e1. So
Rook h1, e1 is.
I believe that's what's on the board.
Okay.
Oh no, sorry. Rook f1 occurred instead, which makes a lot of sense. Probably pushing for the f5 push, as you mentioned earlier, Yasser.
Yeah, but not only does it reinforce the pawn on f4, there is an idea that maybe this queen on c7 lies in ambush in case black ever plays d5. The pawn is protected, but even more so, what you really want to do with white is get in that break f4, f5, and if you can, capture on e6 or play f5, f6.
But g5 is hanging, so that's the issue. She's going to have to kind of preface this with an h4 move, perhaps, or just go for the sacrifice, because that's why so many people play king b1 in the Sicilian, so that the g5 pawn won't be hanging in these types of variations.
With check.
Now, a simple question here. Why can't Irina just castle?
Well, exactly. Let's suggest that she does, probably because it's a really good move. Get your king out of danger. And then if we play a move like king b1, not playing f5 immediately. I'm just going to put a move on the board for a moment, okay? Not a good move, but at least I can explain why you want your king on b1. Once white does play this move f5, this pawn is no longer hanging with a check. And f5, e5, that can be met with the natural continuation sacrifice f5, f6. And if black ever captures just opening up the king, that's a definite no-no. This is not what the favorite in the game wants.
I kind of have to believe in black's position here. I don't know.
You're a Sicilian player. Of course you have to believe in black position.
I mean, not in this exact position, but earlier, like, it just doesn't feel right. Like, to me, trading the B pawn for the D pawn seems like a lame deal for white, because unless there's some kind of a lovely follow-up, just because the D pawn is such a crucial point in the game, and now black's position looks so solid.
Well, you're talking like a real classical grandmaster here, Jennifer. You're saying that black has sacrificed a flank pawn, in this case the pawn on b4, for the beautiful central pawn e4, and that trade really favors black. In truth, it does. The reality, however, is when the kings are on opposite side of the board, it really isn't about pawn structure and things like that nature. It's really about king position and who can attack the other side's king faster. So for example, after, say, castles, even if I don't want to move the king on b1, let's say I played the move knight c3. Again, I'm just going to put some bad moves on the board. I do apologize. With this bishop on c3, notice that it does look towards your king. At the moment, both kings appear to be safe, but I think that white does have the potential of stirring up some real trouble over on the king side.
Yeah, that bishop on c3 does look pretty nice there. Black, of course, can consider playing something like a5, a4, but then you might even just be able to nip that in the bud with b4. So. And
also, one other and very important point. I love this bishop. This is a bishop on b7 is beautiful. However, in a certain way, there's nothing on that diagonal for it to attack.
So you love it, but?
But it may not actually be doing that much. White
you love it, but you don't love it.
Well, it's not doing a job.
Right, right.
Okay?
It has a lot of potential.
It's like, yes, it's standing guard, but it's not really performing in the battle against one another's king. So
So optically, it looks really good for black, but maybe it's not as much this position, but I think just like generally, it looks like white's got some holes and black's got, the knight on e4, the pawn, the bishops are both looking more promising than they usually do in the Sicilian. So visually, to me, it looks better than most Sicilians for black, but Yasser's making a lot of compelling arguments for kind of the hidden values of this position for white. So this will definitely be one to watch. We are going to take a quick thought for Grandmaster Maurice Ashley, and let's hear what he's got.
Well, a dynamic moment has occurred in the game between the veteran Varuzhin Akobian against the youngest player in the competition on the men's side, Grandmaster Daniel Naroditsky. And take a look at this. It looks like it's a very calm position. Pieces, queens have been traded, the knight and bishop versus the two bishops. But in fact, there's something really serious going on here, and that is the white bishop is in some kind of trouble because of the threat to play g5. And white played a move completely ignoring that. He played the move e4, attacking black's knight and also uncovering attack on black's bishop. There are different ways to play here. One simple way is to play bishop takes on f1, and after rook takes on f1, take a look, the black knight is suddenly trapped. Nowhere to go. e7, b4 is covered, c3, everywhere is covered. So black has to go into the line, g5 to get the piece back, and after e takes d5, calmly recapture, leaving this bishop hanging. And the next move, castles, attacking this pawn on d5. Okay, well, I'll just defend that pawn because this bishop is still hanging. So a very sharp position is arisen right here because of the move e4, attacking that knight. Black can even play the move bishop back to b7 in this line because after pawn takes, he can still continue, well, he could capture on d5, but he could still continue with the move g5 as well since the pawn is not going anywhere due to that long pin. So we're seeing a very sharp, aggressive, crazy position even though the queens are off. Back to you guys.
That blowed up, and that game just blew up. I thought it was a calm position. I brought it on my board as well because we hadn't looked at that game. I thought that game was really balanced, and then suddenly it was like turbulence occurred. Bam! And that move e4, as Marie said, that just exploded up in the position. Pieces are hanging all over the place. 1, 2, 4 minor pieces, and every one of them are in capture if you consider that g7, g5 traps the bishop.
Well, it just goes to show you shouldn't stop thinking about tactics in the endgame.
Yes.
So the queen's coming off the board is not an excuse to turn off your forcing moves brain.
Shall we?
We're actually going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be back with lots more action here from the U.S. Chess Championships in St. Louis.
Hi, I'm Lindsay, part of the admissions team here at Paul Mitchell The School St. Louis. Our campus is located on Maryland Plaza, right here in the gorgeous Central West End.
I chose Paul Mitchell The School St. Louis because I visited other schools, and when I was at them, I just felt like the energy level wasn't the same. It wasn't as elevated as it is here. When I came here, it just felt right. Everybody looked great, everybody had such a great attitude. The facility was really clean and just so much more advanced.
Technology can truly enhance your education. When we brought in Chromebooks and we started using the smart TVs, we really tapped into the 21st century learner.
Being a student at Paul Mitchell is great because the learning leaders, they're there to guide you in the right direction. They give you the opportunity to make decisions on your own.
They accept you for who you are, and they're always welcome and honest and open.
We have encouraged our guests to post Google reviews. So far to date, have over 100 reviews with an average rating of 4.5 stars.
So I like that this isn't just for hair and beauty, but it's also a business college. You can learn hair, you can brush it, you can tease it, you can learn all of that, but to do business, that's something that really takes a whole different level of education.
Whether we're in the classroom or at the color bar, we're always having a great time at Paul Mitchell, the school St. Louis. Being a student at Paul Mitchell gives you a lot of opportunity for when you're ready to get out into the real world.
Thank you for taking a sneak peek of our campus, and we can't wait for you to come and see what a Paul Mitchell education can do for you.
And we are back at the 2014 U.S. Championship and U.S. Women's, and now we know why so many of the competitors have such fantastic hair, right?
Right.
The purple, the red.
Well, it was a photo shoot the other day that was
That's
really
right.
impressive. Everybody getting made up and dolled up. They were really, really pretty.
The glamorous side of jazz.
Absolutely, fashion.
So we've got Mackenzie Molner and Alexander Onischuk. We saw this game a little bit earlier, and we were talking about, and boy, I just really love this shot. Now that Molner's not sitting there, you also see two other really talented rising young stars, Kaden Trofe and Luke Carmen Velati. Actually, Kaden Trofe, one of the members of the official Rising Young Stars program, which is a partnership between the chess club here in St. Louis and the KCF with Gary Kasparov.
The Kasparov Chess Foundation. And the idea there is really for our American audience to think of all stars.
Yeah.
And the best of the best of the best are getting the training from chess legend, former world champion Gary Kasparov.
Can't beat that, and a lot of it's done right here at the St. Louis Chess Club. But here we've got the game in question, Molner Onischuk. Molner sacrificed a pawn, and we were trying to figure out here how Onischuk could give back the pawn but not get a bad position along with it. Rook A7 didn't seem up to snuff. We were looking, Queen C7 wasn't desirable. So Onischuk came up with a nice move here, taking advantage of a pin. A nice idea. We don't know yet whether it worked out for him. So the pawn on d4 can't take the knight on c5 because the queen on d2 is hanging.
Precisely.
Meanwhile, he's threatening the other most common tactic in chess, the fork on b3. So forks and pins.
Forks and pins, the basics. We certainly cannot allow knight takes b3. We want to get out of the pin. So it would seem most natural for white to first get out of the pin, and second to protect against the fork. Now we are threatening to capture the knight on c5. So if the knight was forced to drop back, I'll just put a variation on the board. White could regain his pawn in this line of play that we're seeing.
And the big difference, the knight's relocated to a much better square.
Remember when it was on d7 passively doing nothing?
Exactly, it didn't have any good squares from that.
Now, by rerouting itself to the b4 square, pardon me, let's say rook c8, I wanted to play rook c1, we get a situation where black can actually challenge for the c file. In the previous line we couldn't. And here I still have a slight preference for white, but I think that this actually was a very clever idea of Onischuk knight c5, limiting the damage and getting close to an equality.
And it shows you in chess how important it is to watch out for all your pieces, right? Even though from a kind of basic point of view, the knight was developed. From a more sophisticated point of view, it wasn't, because it was developed to d7, but it wasn't actually controlling the key squares, and it was actually crowding black from being able to play the move queen d7 and rook c8.
Precisely.
The other nice thing about this knight b4 maneuver is that the rook on c6 was very powerful because it was also eyeing b6.
Right.
Keeping the queen on d8 honest. And so Onischuk's idea is a very, it shows you why he's able to have such an impressive score and lose so few games. Because even when he gets a bad position with black, he knows how to kind of equalize and stymie the pressure.
Well, he's such a resourceful player. If there is a way for him to get out of a predicament, he'll find it. He's really that good. And that's why he comes to this U.S. Championship with such a reputation of a solid player, not losing, undefeatable, and just winning a few games. And in a low-scoring event, he can be a real threat to winning the U.S. Championship.
That's right. All right. And we've got Grandmaster Ashley with some thoughts on our exciting Sicilian battle today in the women's championship.
Well, we all know, Jen, that the Sicilian is razor sharp. One false move and you could get blown off the board. You have to be extremely careful. And in this position, unfortunately for White, it seems as though she has made a serious error. She played a move that looked very natural. We are taught when you're young, don't leave your knights on the side of the board. And she decided right at this moment was the time to bring her knight from the A4 square back to the center. The computer engines like rook F3 and then maybe knight back. That way you had more reinforcement on that square. But she played the knight back immediately. And it turns out that this move has a very severe flaw in that it's possible now to take advantage of the knight sitting on that square by playing this move, A5, attacking that bishop, which is defending the knight. Naturally, you drop back, you're in danger of losing the pawn on this square because the queen and knight are both attacking this knight. What else to do, though? If you try to save everything by playing knight to B5, Black can just play this very devious move, dropping back, guarding this pawn so that nothing can take it. There's three things attacking it, but three things defending. So we have the queen, bishop, and knight defending against the knight, bishop, and rook. And now when White calmly drops back, Black takes the knight on C3, and now knight takes. You could play another way. You could play B takes on C3, but then suddenly A4, and this is really annoying. Black's attack is crashing through, but White's, what is White to do? The captures are going to happen. Plus, this bishop could go to A4. Why do I say that? Because in the other line, after knight takes C3, knight takes C3, go to A6 is what I meant. There's that move, bishop to A6, and the skewer on the queen and rook is in effect. This position is definitely good for Black. I've been looking at lines trying to figure out how to get out of it for White, but I don't see any way. It seems as though right now, if the move A5 is played, Black is completely in the driver's seat, and that's something that's typical for the five-time women's champion, and it looks like she has indeed played the move A5, so it seems that Nemcova is in serious trouble. Back to you, Jen and Yaz.
Wow, that was a very subtle point. The move A5 is a nicely hidden tactic because there was also that checkmate, knight C3 to B5, A B4, knight takes C7, rook A1, checkmate. And Arena is very sharp. Tactically, she sees the variations very well. She recently played in the World Blitz and Women's World Blitz Championship and Women's World Rapid Championship. I think Arena's a very good blitz player. She didn't acquit herself as well as she had hoped, but she's very tactically gifted, and she came up with that move A5, and it's easy to miss that opportunity.
That's right. Yeah, so the Sicilian, a great opening to play if you're Black and you're a stronger player looking to really give yourself as many options as possible to just win the game.
Absolutely.
Another final thought on all of that from Maurice.
Indeed, Yaz, a great line you pointed out that I neglected to myself should be mentioned because it is so attractive. This move, knight C to B5, looks good because it's solving the problem of the knight, but it turns out you can just capture back here. And as you so ably pointed out, no, sorry, you're not going to get this queen because of the move rook to A1. Oops, checkmate, game over. In this line, after knight C B5, A takes on B4, Black would face and have to calculate the counter sacrifice. Queen takes on E4, removing the knight from guarding this D2 square since Black queen is in trouble as well. Well, here, Black can just calmly move the queen, forcing this white queen to move, and then just build up on this poor wayward knight, and it's all Black in the driver's seat here, pushing White off the board. Back to you guys.
That's a nice variation, a very important line. And again, it's Arena being very opportunistic, her opponent making what looks like a very natural move, knight C3. I even played that move, excuse me, I wasn't looking for A5. So knight C3 looked good, but it appears it's just going to be punished tactically.
That's right. So success with the Sicilian so far in Nemcova Krush. Now let's take a look at another game from the Women's Championship. We've got our youngest player in the field on the Bay Area, super talented 13-year-old, Ashrita Aswaran. Wow, this is just a beautiful shot of her right now.
And she's playing black against Victoria Ni. Victoria not in our screen at the moment.
No Oz, by the way. She does look cute, though, doesn't she? With that little bow in her hair. Adorable, but a very dangerous player. Already a chess master. In fact, you really are seeing that women's chess in America is really more promising than it's ever been. There are so many young girls who are rated 2200. In fact, Annie Wang from California as well, I believe. She recently broke Irina's record for the youngest ever chess master.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
It's not just
12 or maybe even 11. She's very, so there's a lot of them. It's not just one or two. So hopefully one of them will kind of really continue to take the game seriously and become a serious threat at the highest level.
Exactly, but it's not just women's chess in America. Really, I see this as global. There was a period of time when the Soviet Union, and more specifically the Republic of Georgia, was absolutely dominant of women's chess. All the top ladies around the world came from Georgia. And today you're seeing from India, from China especially, China has produced a